You're listening to episode 140, Melanie's Story, a daughter with type 1 diabetes. Hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you're here today. This is such an important episode. I'm talking with Melanie about her daughter's diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. And this is really coming for a family that had, no known cases in their family of type 1 diabetes, of a mom who was pregnant with her second when she found out that her 2-year-old had the diagnosis, concerning symptoms leading up to it, and just really feeling blindsided. And Melanie gets very honest about some of the dark times at the beginning of the diagnosis, like not leaving the house and really having to make some big decisions about their future. The part that I want you to concentrate on when you're listening to Melanie is how eloquent and well-spoken she is now about this disease, and how she has completely just become an advocate, and her life has been pretty transformed by her daughter. And I just think they're an incredible family. So I'm so grateful to Melanie for sharing, for being so open and honest. She gets very vulnerable and very courageous in some of the things she says, but it's the truth about what a diagnosis like this looks like when it's shocking to a family. So thank you so much, Melanie, for being here, and let's get started. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you guys know that if you are a parent, a child life specialist, or professional working with children, you're going to want the hospital or physician's office or urgent care that you take your kids to have the Child Life On-Call app. It is an evidence-based tool designed to empower children and families during medical experiences. And 100% of the child life specialists who have used this app believe that it can help with expanding child life's reach beyond the bedside. And 100% of child life specialists believe it helps parents feel more empowered in their child's care. Learn how to get the Child Life On-Call app for your facility or doctor's office by going to childlifeoncall.com/partners.
I am Melanie Smith. My husband, his name is Anthony. We have been together almost 10 years in January, and we just celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary. We've been together since we were 13 and 14.
I read that on your intake form, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to ask her about meeting your husband in the 9th grade.
Well, we actually met each other in middle school, but we didn't start dating until high school.
Okay, so. Gotcha.
And we have 2 beautiful daughters, Malia and Leonie, and we have 3 dogs, 2 Bostons, Zeus and Pablo, and then a pit bull named Stella. And we reside in Maryland, but looking to move down to Florida, so hopefully that happens. I'm actually originally from Florida, so it would be nice to go back.
Yeah. Do you have family down there?
So actually, I just lost both of my grandparents within the last year and a half.
I'm so sorry.
And I don't really talk to my father's side of the family all that often. So, I mean, I have, an aunt and uncle and cousins down there, but kind of not really.
Yeah. It's always hard to navigate, like, what's best for your family and thinking about all the different components when it comes to a big move like that. And it can be stressful even just thinking about it. Like, well, where would we go? How would we get there? Like all of that stuff. There's a lot that goes into it.
My husband, he has 2 grandmothers down there. So, but most if all of his family is really up here, so that would definitely be kind of crazy to navigate.
Yeah.
But
Well, talk to us a little bit about kind of leading up to the time that you realized something was going on with your daughter, and what you were noticing in her, and what that experience was like for you guys.
um so the main thing that I noticed was that she was drinking so much. Like, she would come up and ask for drink and drink it all in literally 3 seconds and then ask for more. And she was going through diapers like crazy. And I thought, oh, maybe I need to size up her diapers. I bought nighttime diapers because she was leaking through everything. Um, so I sized up, and it was not working. And that was really concerning to me. I had talked to my husband and my mother-in-law about it, and they were like, oh no, everything's fine. Like, she's just thirsty. My husband made a comment like, us Smiths are just, extra thirsty. We like to drink a lot. And I'm like, okay. So I just kind of monitored it. And then um, a couple mornings before her doctor's appointment, she tried to eat her breakfast when it was frozen.
Oh.
Like, she was starving, and I didn't understand why. Like, she acted like she had never eaten before. And I made it for her. She ate it, and then she just, went to sleep. And that is what she did a lot of the time. She really was just so tired. She wasn't herself. She was very emotional. And it was just kind of a really weird time. Like, it's really hard to explain. I just knew that something was wrong. So I ended up making her a appointment for the pediatrician. And it was like a week out. So we're just kind of going through the motions. And I remember getting mad at her because, like, she would freak out at night if she didn't have a drink.
Yeah.
And I felt, once I realized what it was, or, when we got her diagnosis, I felt so bad. And we go out the day before her appointment, me, my husband, and her, and we go to do some fall activities, and she just was not herself. So we go to the appointment, and it was still kind of COVID-y. So her pediatrician always would call while we're in the car, talk to me. We, go over what's happening, what's going on. And then once we were done the bulk of talking, we would go through the appointment, and then we would leave. So I'm telling her everything. I had a list of my concerns that I made with my mother-in-law, and I feel bad. Well, I don't feel bad, but I deleted it. So I don't remember exactly what was on the list, but it was a pretty hefty list. So then I remember the day of the appointment, she wasn't really all that hungry. She just wanted to sleep. All she was doing was really sleeping. So, and my father was living with us at the time, and he's like, this is not like her. He's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, Dad, I don't understand either. That's why I'm taking her to the doctor. So we go in, and we go through the appointment, and she's like, one of the main things when talking about excessive thirst is we like to check their blood sugar to make sure, everything's okay with that. And I was like, okay, not thinking of anything, because before this, like, my babe, like, she was healthy. Every appointment that we ever went to, aside from the little murmur that she had, she was like spot on. Everything was great. Like, she was excelling in everything. So I'm like, oh, nothing is wrong with her. So we at the end of the appointment, she takes her blood sugar, or she doesn't, but her helper does. And she's like, she goes out, she comes back in and was like, can we do it again? Because it didn't read. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So she does it again. And then I hear her doctor at the door, and I heard her like, are you sure that's accurate? And the helper was like, as accurate as it can be. So her doctor comes in and she said, so her sugar is reading 300 because that's the highest that the meter that they have goes. So she's like, I want you to just go get some blood work done just to make sure, maybe this is wrong. Just go get blood work done, make sure everything's okay. She's like, but I wouldn't wait to go to like lab or anything. Just go up to the hospital and get it done there. So that way we can have answers right away. So at this point, I'm like freaking out. Like, why is my child's blood sugar 300? And I didn't really know much about diabetes before this. Like, I knew that, some diabetes you get from eating bad and stuff like that. So I'm like, my child loves fruit, she loves vegetables, like she eats everything. So I don't understand, like, why is her sugar like that? So
it's like you're trying to make sense in your brain, like something that you're like, what, how is this happening? It's like you're trying to pull up all of these circumstances and like, how could this be? And I think that's really common.
Right. And I stupidly went to the hospital 5 minutes up the road. They don't have pediatrics there.
Yeah.
But me thinking like, oh, just some simple blood work, nothing's going to be wrong, it's fine. And mind you, I'm a mess. I'm crying. I called my husband, and like my husband and my father were on their way to meet me there. So we go there, we're like taken right back, and they draw her blood there, and it's 700 and some.
Oh my gosh.
So they get us into a room, and none of these people know how to deal with children. So they're like wrapping her in a towel, in a blanket, and holding her down to try and get blood work done. And it was like, it scarred me. And I'm like, why are they treating my child like this? I was so angry. I know I was. I was a very mean person to all of the people in there. But the way that they were treating my child was just not sitting right with me. And then the doctor comes in just all willy-nilly, like, so your child has diabetes? And I'm like, what are you talking about? My child does not have diabetes. Like, I remember vaguely Googling things like, what can diabetes be mistaken for? And they were talking about like, oh, UTI and all this other stuff. And I just kind of like tuned everything out after seeing how they treated her. And I like didn't believe it at all. I was like, no, my child doesn't have diabetes. Like, that's crazy. And the doctor came in like, you can be transferred to, I think it was like University of Maryland, or you can be transferred to Johns Hopkins. So my mother-in-law was in Florida at this point, and she's like, I bought a plane ticket, I'm on my way home, because her boyfriend actually lives down there. So she's like, I will see you guys in a few hours. And I was like, okay. So my dad ends up coming back to my house, and Anthony, he went home, he grabbed some stuff because I only had her diaper bag, and I didn't, fill it with anything special because I'm like,
you
oh,
weren't
it's another
planning on
doctor's appointment.
getting transferred to a hospital.
Right. So, we were there, I think, from like 3 o'clock until midnight, waiting on a transfer. I'm like, can I just take my child? Like, why are we just like sitting here? Oh no, you have to wait for the transfer, blah blah blah. So um it was just crazy. And then she's sitting here crying because she's hungry and she's thirsty. And at this point they're like, Johns Hopkins doesn't want Johns Hopkins doesn't want her to eat anything, blah blah blah. And I'm like, how are you sitting here denying a not even 2-year-old at this point food? Like, it was so, because she didn't eat before her appointment because she was sleeping. So I knew she was hungry. And just seeing it in her face, like, just, she was crying for pizza. Like, she was hungry. And it was the longest ambulance ride ever. And I had to sit up front. I couldn't even sit in the back with her. And all she's doing is crying. And just like, eventually she fell asleep because, like I said, it's really, really late. So she finally falls asleep. I sleep a little bit up front because I'm completely exhausted. And like, I remember my husband, he was literally following behind the ambulance, like running every light, like he didn't care. And we finally get to Johns Hopkins and they admit us to the pediatric ICU because she was in diabetic ketoacidosis, which explains why she was drinking so much, because her body was telling her to drink to flush out all of the extra sugar that was in her blood, which happens through urinating. So we spend the night in the pediatric ICU. They check her in the morning, and just being there was crazy because she had never slept, or she had started sleeping in her bed, but it all kind of reversed once she got sick. And like you said, I'm just sitting there trying to process everything. Like, how could this happen to my child? Like, she was healthy. And, at one point we had her on a laxative because she had issues using the bathroom, which was essentially like sugar water. My husband's like, oh, could that have done it? Like, because we have no history. I don't have history. His family has history of type 2, but type 1 is autoimmune. So, we spent the night in the ICU, and finally everything was going down by the morning. So they let her eat. And she was so happy to be eating.
She's like, I just want some breakfast and I don't understand why this is happening. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So my mother-in-law had came at that point, and we all lived together, like my mother-in-law, my husband, me, and our daughters. And my mother-in-law is like a big piece for my daughter. Like, she's a safe space. And it was really important for her to be there with us too. So, I'm really happy that she just ended up, coming home because she had literally left the day before. And we spent that one night in ICU, and then we spent 3 days on the regular floor, being taught, how to administer insulin and deal with her sugars and stuff. And I remember, I think I put in there that it was literally like I was leaving home with a newborn because I had no idea what to do. Like, we were in survival mode for those 3 days in the hospital. And it was just nothing that I ever expected to be dealing with. Like,
I'm so
especially
curious.
considering she like I said, every appointment, flying colors, like everything was great. And then it was just like all of a sudden. But that happens with type 1 because it is autoimmune. And a lot of the time, an illness is what triggers it. So, like, she had an ear infection, and then I think we possibly maybe had COVID. And then it was like she was diagnosed. And in a lot of the groups and stuff that I'm a part of, because I remember in the hospital, I just, started entering in as many groups as I could on Facebook. And a lot of people were like, oh, I feel like, or a lot of younger kids are being diagnosed after having COVID. So that was crazy to learn as well. But yeah, it was just really the most craziest 4 days of my entire life.
I'm curious about how much were you able to retain of what they were telling you while you were in that crisis mode in the hospital? Like, do you feel like you got the basics? You're like, okay, I know when I go home I do this, or was it like talking to a wall almost?
Probably mostly talking to a wall. I cried so much in those 4 days. And me and my husband had just recently found out that we were pregnant with our now 2-month-old. And I'm like sitting there like, do I keep this baby? Like, I've never ever thought about not keeping, a pregnancy, but I'm like, I cannot do that to my child. Like, she is sick. Like, do I keep, this baby that I just found out about? Like, I couldn't imagine giving any other attention to anybody else other than her at that point.
That's so understandable. I mean, and that's really brave of you to share, because it makes so much sense that you would feel that way. It's like you brought your baby into the world and now your baby is sick. Like, how can you think about another one? Like, that's so understandable.
Right. And I, never imagined, like I said, that she would ever be sick. And let alone, diabetes, where that's a forever thing, unless they come up with some, crazy cure or whatever. But that's like it's here to stay. Like, it's never going away. And, I remember talking to my father-in-law, and he's like, I should have known, because, he's type 2, and we were at their house like a few days before her appointment, and they didn't think anything of her drinking all of that she was. And nobody like ever pictured her having diabetes.
I have two questions for you. One is, so one of the treatments for diabetes, right, is insulin shots. And here you are with a 2-year-old having to give shots and check blood sugar. Along the way, have you picked up any tips or things that you've learned and have worked so that other families who are just entering this with a toddler, it may help them?
So I did not leave the house for the first month.
Yeah.
I was petrified. I could not give her shots without somebody there to help me. After a few days, I got better with doing finger sticks. But thankfully, a week after her diagnosis, we did get a continuous glucose monitor. It's called the Dexcom. So she has that on her at all times. And it sends readings for her sugars every 5 minutes. So I didn't have to do the finger sticks anymore. But I did have to do the shots. So I started semi getting better maybe around like month 2. at doing them, but it's like she needed like so little amount of insulin.
Mm.
So it's like a lot of math. And I remember having books. I literally wrote every single thing down that she ate and the carbs. And because that's what you have to concentrate on with diabetes is the carbs, because that is what turns into the sugar. You don't have to worry about literally, on the label it says, sugar, whatever. You don't worry about that. You worry about the carbohydrates. So I remember just adding and looking up everything that she was eating. And when you come home for like a solid 2 weeks, all they want to do is eat and eat and eat and eat, because now that they're getting the insulin, they're trying to make up for what their body was missing.
We'll be right back. Y'all may have noticed that I have been just the biggest fan of Piper and Enza and just have been so honored to support and work with them along their journey as they go upon a mission to change how parents and families around the world view and approach health experiences. Created by a group of moms and dads during the pandemic, they are dedicated to creating engaging stories, fun toys, and natural and organic kid-friendly products to help your family learn, prepare, and cope with being under the weather, going through any kind of treatment, or just preparing for a routine doctor visit. Go to their website at piperandenza.com and you can pre-order the copy of their second book, The Difference Between Needles and Noodles Today. The book has some fun strategies in preparing and coping for needle pokes and even features a parent guide developed by me, yours truly. And remember to check out all of the other resources and fun products they offer to empower you to be the biggest advocate for your child and their health journey.
So you're like, hold on, let me document that piece of whatever you just put in your mouth so I can make sure that I'm doing the math for this and that.
And it's like there's different like rules, like can't stack insulin and all this other, like, because there's a difference between correcting her sugar and giving her insulin for what she ate. So like you can't give her insulin to correct her sugar and then an hour later do the same. If she eats in that time, you can give her insulin for the food she ate, not for her sugar. So it's a lot of learning and figuring out, but I definitely give props to the insulin pump and the glucose monitor as well, because I don't know how I'd be surviving without that. Knowing what her sugar was all the time at first was kind of overwhelming, but you kind of learn how to know, like, oh, I don't need to correct her right now. Like, she's going to go down. It'll be fine. We didn't get an insulin pump until January, so a little less than 3 months diagnosis. And that's been a lifesaver. That has to be changed every 3 days. And the Dexcom has to be changed, they say every 10, but she's a toddler, so hers only lasts about 7. But I definitely don't know where I would be without those 2 things. I got a lot more confidence in dosing her and leaving the house with the pump. But she just did not do well with the shots on a daily basis. Like, and I'm, a stay-at-home mom, so my husband, he's working. He can't be home with me. My mother-in-law, she works from home. Like, I had to literally call her to come down every time I needed to give her a shot.
Yeah.
And my dad also at the time, like I said, was living with us. So he was there to help a lot, but it was just really survival mode for like the first month.
What are some of the
And
things you've learned about yourself, like since those days, those dark days in the hospital? Like I'm trying to think of you like in that day where you went to the pediatrician, you went through that traumatic experience at the adult hospital, you got the diagnosis,
I
and then here you are. You're like, it probably feels like a completely different person.
the one thing I can say is I don't have a problem advocating anymore. Like, if I don't like what the hell you're doing to my kid, I'm not gonna let you do that. Like, we've
Yeah.
changed endocrinologists because I was not happy with the one that she had. And I don't really have a filter when it comes to her because she's 2.5 and she can't advocate for herself. Like, I have to be that person.
Yeah.
And as far as in that aspect, I'm not shy to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, with parents with kids that are diagnosed young, like they really need to make sure that they advocate and get them what they need and don't stop until they have it.
Yeah.
Because, I see people on these forums like, oh, we can't get an insulin pump until 6 months post diagnosis. And I was like, not here.
Yeah.
I said something about that every damn day. I'm not afraid to do that. Like, I know that that is what is best for my daughter because she cannot deal with these shots multiple times a day on a daily basis. It's just not,
Right.
there's no quality of life there for her, for me, for her father, for nobody, because that is a lot to handle. So, definitely being her advocate is the biggest thing, I think.
What do you think? What has she taught you over the past few months in dealing with all of this?
That she is the strongest little girl ever. Um, I mean, she's now getting better with her pod changes. Like, she knows that's her pod. She'll say, Mommy, it's my pod. Like, she's not afraid to do anything. She was telling me that she wants to go to school. And my mother-in-law was urging me to put her in something. I'm like, no, I think she's okay. And then she starts asking me to go to school, and I'm like, okay, I guess I have to put you in school. So she starts school on the 13th, and she's so excited. It was kind of a miracle that her teacher actually has diabetes too. So I know that she's going to get the best care because, her teacher has to deal with it too. So she's not going to ignore how Malia is acting, or, she'll know signs of low sugar. She'll know she's got to watch the Dexcom. Like, she will know these certain things. Whereas with somebody else, they have all these other kids they got to worry about.
That's so comforting, I'm sure.
It really is. And that helps me let her go because we both were extremely scared about that. Like, my husband was like, she's never going to daycare. She's never going he was like, we cannot, it's her life. We can't afford for a silly mistake that somebody else makes because she could die. And I felt so bad that I feel like I waited so long to get her looked at because her sugar was 700 and her A1C I think was in the 11s. So that's like, I think 4 or 500, like that's the average sugar over the course of 3 months. and a normal person's sugar is between 90 and 120.
There's something you said at the beginning where you're like, you were getting kind of angry or responding, like being upset that she wanted water at night. And before those words even came out of your mouth, I was thinking about me and how annoyed I get with my children when they need water at night. So,
it was because it was like life or death for her. She was like,
right.
She would cry to me, "Mommy, I need drink." And she would drink. And I'm like, "Malia, you're not getting any more drink. You've had enough. You're fine."
I would say the same thing.
I remember, like, that broke my heart. I'm like, she was sitting here trying to tell me something, and I did not realize. So, I mean, I'm definitely grateful that I made the appointment when I did and that she got checked out when she did, because, there are parents that are too busy, that don't know everything about their children, that don't know, their actions, and they don't know that something's wrong until they're in a diabetic coma because their sugar is over 1,000. So I'm definitely grateful for that, my ability and knowing something is wrong with my kid. Like, when they talk about mother's instincts, that's like a real thing.
Yeah, you experienced that. Well,
and like now it's hard for me because I have a 2-month-old. So I'm like stressing out. I think a few weeks ago, all I could think about was, does she have diabetes?
Yeah.
And I have these test strips that if you put them in pee, they'll tell you like sugar and ketones. So I have those on hand, and I just told myself if I ever have any concerns, I'll just do that and just go on about my day. I'm not going to stress out the endocrinologist. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm not going to stress my family out.
Melanie, that's an amazing plan. That's a really good plan. Because of course those things will creep up in your mind.
Yeah. And, my mother-in-law, because I have a lot of anxiety. I've always had a lot of anxiety, and now it's even worse. Mm-hmm. So, if that's just, what I need to do to help my anxiety a little bit, then, it is what it is. But like I said, I don't play about my children. Yeah. So, and if, that is her calling to have it too, then I want to catch it a lot earlier than I did with Malia.
Well, they're very lucky to have you as their mom.
Thank you.
That's for sure.
I think it's not talked about enough. I didn't even know kids that young could get diabetes. Like, I really thought that you only got diabetes if you ate bad. Like, there's so much misconception about diabetes, and all these people are like, oh, just do this and they'll be fine. No, that's for type 2 diabetes. There are 2 types of diabetes.
Yeah.
If somebody has type 1, there is literally nothing you can do to fix it besides giving insulin. And that's, why I'm like, people need more education on it because they don't know. I mean, I just recently found out there's such thing as, neonatal diabetes, where these kids are getting diagnosed with diabetes before they're 6 months. And a lot of the characteristics with neonatal diabetes aligns with Malia. So I'm like, did she have it for that long? So, or like, did that give her a higher chance, So it's
when those
always questions.
When those questions come up for you, like, what do you do with them? Are you a researcher? Do you ask people? Like, how do you handle it?
So I, through one of the groups that I was a part of, there actually happened to be somebody that knows my oldest sister because both of her children have diabetes. And she reached out to me on Facebook, and we actually really talk every day just about everything, you know, and she's helped me a lot. Like when I wasn't getting any help from my child's doctor, she was there to help me. And she also reached out to her child's doctor or her children's doctors to see if they would see my child because my daughter was not getting what she needed. Like it was like as soon as she got on the pump, they didn't care. And it's very important to have a community that you can lean on. And surprising enough, there is a big community out there that you can go to. You can ask questions, join these Facebook groups. Like so many people are going through this and they're there to help. And it's an always thing. Like I said, at night, I always have to sleep with like one eye open, I feel like, because her sensor is going to go off if she's low. And if she goes low and she's low for a long time, she probably may not wake up. You can always correct high sugars, but that one wrong low sugar and she may not be here. So that is also why having the glucose monitor and advocating for it is important because you have that information.
Right.
If you're just sitting here doing finger sticks, you're not going to know. A 2.5-year-old can't tell you, Mommy, something's wrong with me. I mean, mine kind of did, but not everybody's can do that. She doesn't know, when she feels low. She can't tell me, Mommy, I'm low. I have to rely on finger sticks or, her device for that. So, and it's like always having to make sure you're 2 steps ahead. When traveling, you have to make sure you're 2 steps ahead. At night, 2 steps, you have to always make sure you're 2 steps ahead with it. So.
Well, I'm very impressed by how you speak to it and not only how you speak to it, but how you explain it. And I can imagine that your friend who did kind of a mentor friendship for you, you're doing right now for somebody else, right? Who's going through that. So I can't thank you enough for sharing and talking. And if any of the listeners like to follow, do you guys post on social or can they reach out to me and reach out to you or how does that work?
However, I mean, I have, my Facebook is just my name. I'm on there. I can give the group names too as well. I definitely would love to help somebody if they ever are in the position that I was in almost a year ago. Like at the end of the month, her diaversary, as they call it, is not until the 25th of October. But we're going to be going to Florida again at the end of this month, and that's just going to be her gift. Because it's something that should be celebrated because they're here still and they could not be. So in, the diabetic community, they call it a diaversary. And, some people choose to, look at it as the worst day, and some look at it as the best day. My child is thriving now that she's getting everything that she needs, because insulin is a growth hormone. She's finally growing, she's in clothes that she should be in. She's almost 3 and she's in 2T, 3T. At one point, she was in 12-month clothes at a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I definitely, as much as it sucks, I'm grateful for the day because I'm giving her everything that she needs on a daily basis. So.
Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to continue watching and listening and sharing your episode. And I'm just so grateful that you were here with us today. So thank you. And thank you to your husband for
so
taking
the
baby for a little bit.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/childlifeoncall, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.